Another example of if statement into our main program, we declare any number, variable number. This time we want to get a value from the user. So after getting the value from the user, we set the condition on this number. If the condition is if number is greater than 0, then it shows us you enter a positive integer. Otherwise, it bypass this statement and shows on the screen this statement is as well executed because it is outside if statement. Example, checking condition whether an integer is positive or not. If we write a number greater than 0, then this condition becomes true. Then this condition becomes true, then this line is executed, written under if statement. If user enter an active number, then the above line is ignored and this line is executed as our condition becomes false. So if we enter a positive number, then our output look like this: enter an integer 5. For example, we enter an integer 5, then it shows us on the screen that you enter a positive number 5. This statement is always executed because it's outside if statement. And if we enter a negative number, then the output look like this: enter a number is equal to, we enter -5, and it bypassed our if conditions and it prints on the screen this statement is always executed because it's outside if statement. Let's have a problem. Write a C+ program which gets the value of two integers from user and display whether first number is lower than, equal to, or greater than the second number. We want to write a C++ program and we want to user to insert two numbers, and after getting two numbers from the user, it displays on the screen that the first number entered by the user is lower than or equal to or greater than the second number. We write four if conditions. First if condition is number 1 is equal to. Second is if num1 not equal to num2. Third one is if num1 less than num2. Fourth one if num1 greater than num2. The output of previous program look like this. First it asks user to enter the first integer. For example, user enters 12. Then it again asks user to enter a second integer, and if user enters 12, then only and then all if statements becomes false, but only the if statement we write the condition num1 is equal to num2 becomes true. So the condition written under if condition prints on the screen, that is num1 means 12 is equal to 12. On the other hand, if user we again run the program, and this time it asks user to enter a number and user enters -100, and it again asks user to enter the second integer and this time user enter 1, then only two if conditions that are where we write if num1 not equal to num2 and the if condition num1 less than num2 becomes true, and the statements under these two conditions executes, and other all if statement becomes false. So it prints on the screen -100 is not equal to 1, -100 is less than 1. Another problem statement prompt user to enter a value, check if the number is even, then display a message that number is even. If number is odd, then displays number is odd. In this problem, uh, program asked user to enter a value, and then we set checks on this entered value that either this value is positive or negative, mean even or. The solution of our previous problem statement is as given. Into the main program, we declare a variable of data type integer because we want input from the user. After getting the input from the user, we divide our number onto 2, and if the remainder is equal to 0, then we say that our number is even. But if there is any remainder, then our number is odd. So we put the condition if number modulus 2 is equal to 0, it means number modulus 2, uh, if there is any remainder after dividing by 2 uh, is equal to 0, then the number is even number. Otherwise, in the second condition we write if number modulus 2 not equal to 0, then it prints that number is an odd number. In these both conditions we did not use curly braces, and we use because we used a single statement under each if conditions, and the output program look like this. Let's it ask program asks user to enter a number, and user enters 7. We divide 7 by 2 and we get a remainder 1 because there is a remainder, so 1, so it prints on the screen that number is odd number. And if user enter a number 10 and we divide 10 onto 2, then we get a 0 remainder. This times it prints that 10 is a even number onto the screen. Write a nested if statement to print the appropriate active depending on the value of a variable temperature and humidity as in the table below. Assume that the temperature can only be warm and cold, and the humidity can only be dry and humid. If temperature is warm and if humidity is dry, then it prints on the screen, let's play tennis. And the second condition, if temperature is warm and humidity is humid, then it prints on the screen swim. In third condition, if temperature is cold and humidity is dry, then it prints on the screen play basketball. In the last condition, if temperature is cold and humidity is humid, then it prints on the screen watch TV. So these are the four conditions depends upon the value of temperature and humidity. The solution of this statement is as first we use two variables named temp and humidity mean hum and with the data type of string because we enter temperature as cold or warm and humidity as dry or humid. So we set the data type as a string. Again, it takes the input, it depends upon the user to write warm or cold or dry or humid. So we take the input from the user. After taking the input from the user, we set these four conditions as given. If temperature is equal to warm and humidity is equal to dry, then it uh, shows on the screen play tennis. If both conditions are true, then execute body of if statement. If temperature is equal to warm and humidity is equal to humid, then it shows on the screen go to swim. And into the third condition, if temperature is equal to cold and humidity is equal to dry, then it prints on the screen play basketball. And in the fourth condition, if temperature is equal to cold and humidity is equal to humid, then it prints on the screen watch TV. So after simple if statement, we have nested if statements. In C++, we can use if statement in the another else block, or we can also include if block in the another if block. The syntax the syntax of C++ nested if is as given. If Boolean expression, then we write some statements and then we write if Boolean expression, again if Boolean expression into the body of first if expression, and under the second expression we write its own statements. Then we close first second if statement and then first if statement. For example of nested if statement, into the main program we write a is equal to 100 and p is equal to 200, and we check the condition if a is equal to 100, then it goes into the body and again check the condition if b is equal to 200, and if b is equal to 200 is true, then it shows on the screen value of a is 100 and b is 200. After that we close these both if statements, and the remaining code is as it prints execute value of a is, it shows the value of a and exact value of b on the screen. So in this example the value of a is 100 and b is 200. So exact value of a is 100 and exact value of b is 200. So here we have a limitation of simple if statement. If statement is the simplest selection structure, but it is very limited in its use. The statement or set of statement is executed if the condition is true, but if the condition is false, then nothing happens. A user may want to execute one statement or set of statements if the condition is true. A user may want to execute other statement or a set of statement if the condition is false. In this situation, simple if statement cannot be used effectively. For example, a program should display pass if the student gets 40 or more marks. It should display fail if the student gets less than 40 marks. Simple if statement cannot be used to handle this situation because simple if statement only checks a single condition. So the solution of this problem is double selection. In double selection, if today is Thursday, for example, we have a condition if today is Thursday, I have test today, else we have match today. Double selection uh, have if else condition. If you will run fast, you will catch the bus, else you have to take a cab. If x is divisible by 2, then x is even number, else x is odd number. So the syntax of if else statement is as given. If similarly to the simple if statement, if we write the test expression, then we write the set of statement, and then we instead of writing another if, we simply used else and write the second expression which execute if the above if condition becomes false. If else statement in the above syntax, where whenever boolean expression is true, all the if block statements are executed. Remaining statements are deprogrammed by neglecting else block statements. Mean if into boolean expression becomes true, then the statements written under this if condition executes, but condition written under else condition are not executed. So if the condition, and on the other hand, if the condition is false, then the statements written under if statements are ignored and the statements written into the else block are going to be executed. So uh, if else statement again, if boolean expression is true, then this part shows by the arrow, red arrow, is going to be executed and the block of code written under else is going to ignored. But if the condition becomes false, then the statements pointed by red arrow are going to neglect and the statements pointed by purple arrow are going to execute it. As it is a keyword, by using this keyword we can create an alternative block of our if part. Using else is always optional. It is recommended to use when we are having alternative block of conditions. In any program, among if and else, only one block will be executed. When if condition is false, then else part will be executed. If part is executed when automatically else part will be ignored. Here is our flow chart. On the left side we have if condition, then the statement of if, then we write else, and under else we write the statements of else. This flowchart shows us that first the condition under if statement is checked. If the condition written under if block is true, then the statements written under the if block is going to execute it. On the other hand, if condition is false, then the statements written under the if block are going to ignored, and the statements written under else block is going to execute. Let's have an example uh, from our previous example. For example, suppose the passing rate on an exam is 50. Then the pseudocode statement is if student's grade is greater than or equal to 50, it prints pass on the screen, else it prints fails. Prints pass if the student's grade is greater than or equal to 50, but prints failed if the student's grade is less than 50. In either case, after printing occurs, the next pseudocode statement is in sequence is performed. I have an example if else statement example. On our previous code, we write if grade greater than is equal to 50, it prints pass. If grade greater than is equal to 50 becomes false, then it prints fail onto the screen. And on the bottom we have a flow chart of first we check the condition if grade is equal to greater than equal to 50 or 60, it prints pass. Otherwise, if this condition is false, then it prints fail on the screen. Double selection problem statement: write a program which inputs the marks obtained by student. If the marks are equal to or greater than 50, then displays the message that you are passed, else sorry you are failed. This problem is as given into the main program. First we declare a variable number because we want to store the grades of student in this variable. After entering the enter your marks and store these marks, enter marks into your variable number, we set a condition if number is greater than 50, then it prints on the screen congrats you are passed. Otherwise, if number are less than 50, it prints on the screen sorry you are failed. So here is the output of this program. When program asks user to enter your marks and user enters 60, then the if condition becomes true and it shows on the screen congratulations you are passed. On the other hand, if program asks user to enter your marks and user enters 40 marks, then the condition number greater than or equal to 50 becomes false. Then the statement written under else prints sorry you are fail on the screen. Here is another example of if else statement. In this code under main program we declare a integer time. Int time is equal to 12. Then we set the condition on this variable. If time less than 10, it prints on the screen good morning. Otherwise, if time is greater than 10, then it shows on the screen good afternoon. So if time less than 10, see out good morning, else see out good afternoon. So in this, when we execute our program, then the output is good afternoon, because our condition time less than 10 becomes false, and the statement written under else prints on the screen that is good afternoon. Here we have another problem statement. Ask user to enter two numbers, display which number is greater between two. So code, first of all, we take input from the user and store this input into number 1 and number 2. Then we set the condition on these two numbers, that is, if number 1 is greater than equal to number 2, then it shows on the screen that number 1 is greater. Else, if our condition is false, then it shows on the screen number 2 is greater. The out our program is as first program ask user to enter two numbers. For example, in user enters 5 and minus 10. So the first condition becomes true and it prints on the screen 5 is greater, and it ignores the condition written under else statement.